Hi guys, my name is Regan and I will be talking about specific learning disabilities. Um, what is it? It is really any psychological process that affects the understanding of the spoken or written language. There are some things that learning disabilities include, but there are a lot that they aren't as well. This includes perceptual impairments, brain injuries, minimal brain dysfunction, and developmental aphasia. It excludes visual, auditory, or motor impairments, for example, like being blind, being deaf. That is in special education, but it is not found in this learning disability side. And also does not include intellectual disabilities, emotional disturbances, and other disadvantages that students may have. Like I said previously, there are parts in education that do address these, but not with learning disabilities. So some of the common learning disabilities that there are is dyscalculia. This affects math, dysgraphia. This affects writing and a lot of the language arts that we do in school. Dyslexia is reading, and nonverbal learning disabilities. This means a student cannot interpret body language, or they just don't have the coordination that they need to accomplish their day-to-day life. So some of the major things is to address a learning disability, there are some psychological processes that have been affected. And they've narrowed it down to 5 processes that a learning disability can affect, which is the perception, the attention, memory, metacognition, and organization. And then the academics that are affected in this is the reading, language arts, mathematics, and social and emotional side. While social and emotional health is not part of the academics that we teach, it is still very crucial to education itself, because we all make friends at school. And if you can't, you're missing another part of education itself. So now we will go through every single learning disability and talk about it more in depth. So dyscalculia, like I previously said, it affects math. And as a teacher, you might see the lack of quantitative reasoning. A student may be able to find the answer, but they can't really tell you how they got there. They can't reason with you of how everything worked. They just kind of sort of found the answer. And frequently they will count out the numbers, like math facts that we have memorized. For example, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Students with dyscalculia might be counting on their fingers, even into larger upper grades. Some of the barriers that they have is, like I said, understanding the simple math facts, which is the foundations of math. So in upper grade levels, this will start becoming a problem. And then understanding the value of numbers. They don't understand that 2 has the value of 2 and that how everything correlates to each other. So yeah, and then some accommodations is to review the previous knowledge, do the scaffolding, be like, this is the base, and then slowly grow on it. And teach your students to talk themselves through it. Frequently, it's very helpful to simply verbalize what you're thinking so then your brain knows what it's doing. Draw out problems. Sometimes the easiest solution is to draw out how many apples you have and then take away. And then as a teacher, connect to real life scenarios. Teach students of why this matters to them, and how they're going to be using it in their life. And lastly, use graphic organizers. This picture is a great example of what may go on in your students' minds. So students have these kind of math facts memorized, like 3 plus 4 equals 7. Whereas a student with dyscalculia, they might not have it memorized. They're trying, they're really, really trying. It's just not quite there. Next is dysgraphia. This affects writing. These are a few examples of dysgraphia writing. And teachers might see limited and repetitive vocabulary, illegible writing, and spelling words wrong when written out. Dysgraphia isn't just all handwriting. It's spelling, it's the lack of growing vocabulary, and other things. It shows itself through the bad handwriting. I hope this makes sense. And so students can probably spell out the words correctly, vocally, but when they get on paper, they can't express themselves how they want to. Their brain's working faster than they can write themselves down, and it all starts getting bejumbled, for lack of a better word. Some barriers is they can't write down their thoughts for essays or homework assignments, which makes them not be able to communicate what they know. As teachers, we highly we use writing so much, even if it's not really a writing assignment. So this will put up a barrier of we don't know what the student actually knows. Some accommodations is speech to text. Let your students use technology. Let them just vocalize what they know, and that way they don't get frustrated with writing. Use handouts for notes. Let them maybe copy what they're reading. Let them have instructions written out that they can just read. Pencil grips are a great way because it just has their hand focused instead of always trying to like wiggle the pencil around. Keep extra times for notes if they're having to copy down, and break assignments up. Break it down into step 1, step 2, step 3, kind of thing. Dyslexia, this is a very common one, as you all know. Teachers might see letters swapped out for lookalikes while they're writing. Slow fluency, students can't read as fast or as accurate as maybe maybe their peers are in their grade. Some barriers that are associated with this is word analysis. Students can't really read and know the vocabulary of the words that they are reading. Fluency, like I said before, and comprehension. They can't connect the pieces of information together to piece together the storyline in a book. Accommodations is scaffold with vocabulary and concepts. Before you start a lesson, say, this is the vocabulary that we're learning. Before you start reading a book, tell the students that this is a vocabulary that they will be seeing and define them. Give step-by-step instructions. Again, that first step, second step, third step. Grade only on the skill. Frequently, teachers say that spelling is important. And while spelling is important, students with dyslexia will frequently spell words wrong. Just make sure that the skill that you are actually grading on is the one that you are addressing. And use colors. Color code things. Make things happy and fun to read. These are a few examples. This is an example of what a dyslexic reader might see when they're trying to read a book. And this person is trying to rewrite this sentence, and you can tell how it's how they kind of struggle, but they're working on it. They're practicing, they're trying. And then last is the nonverbal learning disabilities. As we all know, nonverbal communication is very important. The body says things that our mouth will never say. Uh, so it's very important. Teachers might see a lack of socializing during free time, incorrect reading of situations. For example, if the teacher is showing it's quiet time, but the student doesn't understand that, they might be being loud and disruptive, and then they have impulsive behaviors because they don't really understand what's going on because your body is saying things that the students don't understand. And then some of the barriers is the motor skills. They're not quite up to par with their peers. Their visual spatial organizational memory is a little off. Students really can't recall shapes, the colors or locations of different objects. This plays a huge role in math. I feel like when you're finding the perimeter of a shape or area, yeah. And then social abilities. Like I said before, school is important for socializing, and this just kind of prohibits that. Um, some accommodations are create a routine, make every day kind of the same. This allows them to know at what time to act at certain thing is appropriate to act at times. Post the schedule. Let the parents know, let the students know if some sort of field trip is coming up so then they can prepare for that. And give guiding notes. For example, if you give an assignment, a complex assignment, give them notes that they can keep referring back to so that they know exactly what to do if they ever get stumped. Some abilities of this is they have a well-developed vocabulary. Their reading is really well. And then rote language skills, they can recall things very, very easily. All in all, there are some major just ways to find a learning disability. The student is not matching the age level goals for their oral expressions, their listening comprehension, their writing expression, their basic reading skills, their reading fluency skills, their reading comprehension, mathematic calculations, math reasoning. Any or all of these that are exhibited can potentially lead to a diagnosis of a learning disability. How does this affect you as teachers? I know that my percentages are kind of off in this slide. I couldn't find an exact percentage in my research, but there are over 2.8 million students that are currently obtaining services for their learning disabilities. This creates 47.4 of all special education services are used for learning disabilities. In this graph right here, it shows you just how much how much learning disabilities are in our school systems. And so no matter what grade you go teach, no matter what subject you teach, you will run into learning disabilities. So yeah, I hope that this helps. And that's my presentation. Thank you guys.